We have been talking about Lamar Brown's recruitment heavily for a month, realistically for a year, for some multiple years, because of how high profile Brown has become right there at U-High, literally on LSU's campus. And as the months drew on, it kind of whittled down to two teams. And I think that there was a lot of quality reporting in that Brown was strongly considering LSU and Texas A&M until late in the process. And the reasons were obvious. Like for LSU, it's home. It's where your family is. It's where you've grown up. It's the flagship university of your state. It's one of the most tradition-rich programs in college football, and it's Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, and it's Kyle Williams, the defensive line coach, who's been an all-pro on the defensive line, and it's the national championship pedigree, and it's all that. And then for A&M, it's a chance to be remotely close to home, but a little bit further away so you can spread your wings, and it's a massive stadium and a huge alumni base and a head coach that's a big-time defensive line developer, and a chance to go make history over there and become part of a championship team, which no one in maroon and white has ever experienced. So there were reasonable sides on both. And we sat here in Baton Rouge, and you're hoping that home wins out, and you sit there in College Station, and you're hoping that a chance to spread your wings and do something different wins out. And I think that the indications started to roll in about 10 o'clock this morning that home was going to win out. And Lamar Brown went on ESPN2, and trust me, nobody was knocking on my door from a national television broadcasting standpoint when I was a high school senior. So I can't even imagine going on ESPN. But my guy was nervous. There's no doubt about it. And he was quick to answer questions and really just wanted to get on with the show. And when he got on with the show, he said he would be playing the next 3 or 4 years at Louisiana State University, put on the huge-sized hat, had the baseball jersey on, which I appreciate, national championship baseball team if you hadn't realized. And he pledged to stay home and play for the LSU Tigers. Now, look, I still toss these caveats in every single time we talk recruiting. I know this doesn't mean he's going to end up at LSU in January. Not mean he's going to end up at LSU next summer. He can still flip. There's plenty of time for that. I know it means LSU's in a really good position to land him, and it's really good news for the football program. I also know that with the transfer portal open, high school recruiting tends to be pushed down a peg in terms of its relevance. But I'll say this. It's really important to get these kinds of players. It just is. Even in the age of NIL, even in the age of the transfer portal, even in the age of signing the number one portal class and filling your roster with a bunch of starters from different places, even in the era where you've got 5 stars in the very recent past that have come to LSU and moved on, like Lance Hurd, for example. It's still important to get these commitments. It's still important to get these signatures. It's important to have Harold Perkins on your roster for 3 years. It's important to have Will Campbell on your roster for 3 years. It's important to have Emory Jones and Trades Green and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Whit Weeks. And I know I'm kind of all over the board there, but these are big-time recruits, some from in the state, some from out of the state, that you get in and you get 3 or 4 years out of All-American type play. And sometimes that comes from 3-star recruits, but far more often it comes from 5-star recruits. And when you listen to people a lot more qualified than me talk about Lamar Brown, you realize how important it is for LSU to get him in the class. If he were just an offensive lineman, he would be a 5-star. If he were just a defensive lineman, he would be a 5-star. And the fact of the matter is that he is a 6'4", 6'5", 285-pound prospect that is listed as an athlete. That's how dynamic this young man is. Not only is he a 5-star offensive lineman and a 5-star defensive lineman, he is a state champion in the shot put. He is a state champion in the discus. He is as dynamic an athlete as there is in this recruiting cycle. And he goes to school on your campus. And sometimes that's played to LSU's advantage. Nick Brissett, Garrett Brumfield, Jaquelin Roy, like guys, they got in the boat that came to LSU and had very productive careers. Sometimes it's worked against LSU. Dylan Moses, Tim Williams, Jordan Gilbert didn't go to LSU. Came back. So I think most people, if you just zoomed out and you weren't immersed in this thing and you said, well, Ohio State's got a 5-star that goes to school on their campus, well, why would you even recruit that guy? But we know better than that. We know that LSU does have to fight for the U-High kids. And this is one you've got to fight for. And to LSU's credit, they did it. Like, A&M put up a good fight. If I realized fully that if I got on this microphone today and he had picked A&M and I had said, LSU staff did a good job recruiting, there would be pitchforks at the studio door about how stupid a comment that is. But when we can relax and go, oh, well, LSU got this guy, and I can go, A&M ran a damn strong race here. To get a kid from Baton Rouge to take that many visits to College Station, Texas, and up until the very last day, hours before the commitment, for national analysts, LSU analysts, A&M analysts to go, I'm not really sure. That's a hell of a recruiting effort from Texas A&M. You can talk about their player development program, the booster base, the alumni network, clearly NIL, all that stuff's relevant. And LSU's got some of that as well. But LSU had home in their back pocket, and that's a tough one to break free from. Now, you'll hear people talk about the money LSU was able to fundraise here, and in this era, like, certainly 2 months ago, I'd have said, yeah, that's like the biggest deal. Like, what happened there? Now with the deals where you got to pass them in the clearinghouse and you can still pay high school kids out of collectives, and like, it's a little bit convoluted now in a way that I don't have a perfect handle. And I got a handle on it, not a perfect handle on it. But the fact of the matter is that LSU staff did what they need to do. And I come on here often, and we'll do so in the future, and say, look, you can't lock kids in a trunk and shove them into psychology class and not let them see the light of day until it's time to go to school. Like, you just give your pitch. And whatever the LSU staff did from a visit perspective, from a development perspective, from an NIL perspective, from a revenue sharing perspective, from a Kyle Williams perspective, like whatever they did, they got it done. And I think oftentimes our reaction to wins on the recruiting trail is, all right, good job. And our reaction to losses on the recruiting trail is, this is a disaster. Fire the coach. Fire the position coach. This is awful. How are we going to recover from this? We'll never. It generally turns up to 11 when you miss a guy, and it's like a 6 when you get one. I prefer to treat the wins as like a 9 and the losses as like a 7. This would have been a big loss. Not one you can't recover from. You can always go to the portal or go try to substitute for the player that you don't get in the recruiting trail. But getting these high-level prospects in the boat is massively, massively important. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate just tweeted out moments ago, said, if LSU is able to get Lamar Brown and Tristan Keys, 2 top 10 players in the 24/7 composite in this cycle, it'll be the first time they have done that in years and years and years. And now I'm forgetting the 2 guys he said. I thought I'll just be able to recall it. I want to say Lael Collins and Anthony Johnson, but let me make sure that that's correct because I can pull up Wilson's profile right here. He said it would be the first time. Yep, Lael Collins and Anthony Johnson. I was right. Go back and check it. That's a long time ago. That's the FAM, 2011, with Jeremy Hill and Kenny Hilliard, and all those guys that came in that class and were great, great players at LSU. Hopefully Lamar Brown is the next great, great player at LSU, like the guys I rattled off here that were 5-stars that have come into Baton Rouge and made massive waves. So big time for the LSU staff, big time for this class, which now will creep into the top 5 by most of your recruiting services. You're talking about a class that now, according to 1-3 and Rivals, still has the highest average rating per player in this class. You've got Tristan Keys, who's a 5-star, Trenton Henderson, who's a 5-star, Lamar Brown, who's a 5-star. Like, you've got high-end players. And we all know that a lot of times players head out after being massively highly rated. Deshaun Womack, Lance Hurd, Quincy Wiggins. It happens. But you celebrate these wins when you can get them. Big-time win for LSU as they pull in Lamar Brown by ESPN, the number 1 player in the nation from right here in Baton Rouge, and he is committed to stay home right here and sign his letter of intent coming up in December. So big get for LSU. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.